I am considering moving back to Europe. I'm not sure. I feel like I've been in LA for 15 years and it's been really good to me. But my son has just graduated this summer, and I have this feeling at the moment that I don't know what's next. I don't know where I belong and where to put up camp next, if that makes any sense.
Is this like a empty nest syndrome?
No, because I still, sorry, my studio is falling apart. No, because I have my daughter still. I don't know what it is. I feel like it's so much of what I, have thought and believed for a really long time on how I should live, what life should look like, what I should accomplish, what would fulfill me. It's all like transformed into other things. So I just, rather than just keeping on a steam train heading somewhere, I just want to take a moment and get off and think like, okay, what is it I really want?
So you don't know what you want, but you're starting to get an idea of what you don't want. Is that what's happening?
No, I mean, I think, I'm not one of these people that has a 5-year plan. I know I've been on dates where these guys who are really wrapped around that idea of being really structured. And fair enough, I never lived with any agenda at all, ever. And I don't know, once you have children, and really if I'm optimizing my life by not having some sort of structure in place, thinking, okay, what is it I really want to still do? How do I want to evolve? What do I want to learn? Where do I want to go? I agree with that, but like to have that 5-year plan. And I feel things always moved organically, from things just entered, came up in front of me, and then I would go, or I wouldn't, or I would choose it. And I feel now, after having lived, I'm turning 50 in a couple of months. I'm like, okay, so I've done the flowy bit. Like, is it time for me to really be conscious and to see what I'm creating?
Okay, so to see what you're creating
Yes,
in like
essentially create, to go, okay, this is the list, this is what we're doing, and to see what comes from that, right?
okay. So you want to try being more structured? Is
Yeah,
that what you're
yeah,
saying? Okay,
yeah.
okay. Because you've been on all these dates and you're like you find this an
No,
interesting
not
quality.
not not on all these days, because I don't date anymore. I haven't dated in a really long time, and I think
Okay.
also um, LA really helped with that. But um, no, but I notice if you're dating this specific type of men, it just tends to come up. It's like the 5-year plan, like how are you optimizing, like all these kind of things that were never on my radar, uh, other than being really good in the moment and
Okay.
yeah, making.
Do you think that's a LA thing?
I think look, there's this thing where we're drenched in manifestation now, right? Everybody talks about it. At least on my Instagram, I get really tired of that word. But I do think it's beneficial if there's some sort of roadmap by now. Uh, Go, like for instance, I always go by the last minute thing, and I took my daughter to Tokyo just prior to arriving here. But it was such a short last minute thing. I just opened my laptop. I was like, okay, what are affordable flights? And then Tokyo came up, and she really had expressed wanting to see it and experience it. So we had no plan. I mean, I did it all like at the last minute thing, but then you also take away from the excitement of something to look forward to. And I feel if I would be more structured and organized, there would be more things to look forward to. Does that make sense? Like the anticipation of it?
Yes and no, because sometimes I feel like I've heard people say the opposite of this. Like, once you start making these plans, okay, we need to see this and we're going to look at it for 20 seconds. And then we go over here and we eat at this place. And I have to see this. And we can only get the ferry to here at this time to take, like,
Yeah.
so this to me sometimes takes the excitement out of it. Maybe that puts pressure on it.
No, but I mean more through the eyes of a child who's different, very wired differently from the way I'm wired. And then
Yeah,
I thought if she would have known for like three months, and you know how these kids already pack their bag and plan their outfits, and like,
yeah,
and with me, it's even when I just had kids, it's like I threw
yeah,
diapers in a in a suitcase, and then it's like, I didn't pack socks, or it's always
yeah.
been a little bit like, I don't know, as I'm calmer and as I'm more in my body and less
Uh
all
huh.
over the place, I feel yeah, maybe I'm doing it in reverse. Maybe
Uh
I've been
huh.
so free and yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know what the right thing is. I just
What did you? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I just look at friends who are, because we went to stay with friends after Tokyo, and that's a mom who really plans, and I really, it's not just a mom, but a mom is basically the CEO of the family, right? Let's be
Yeah.
really clear about that. So if
Mhm.
I don't know.
Well, do you? Well, your is your daughter like? What is her age range?
She's 14. She's
She's
14.
14.
Her son's turning 19 next week. Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah.
So then did your son did your daughter express some sort of like a disappointment with how the trip went?
No, 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 not at all. No, she loved it, and we I think we did as, but it's
So
more
what's the
in.
problem?
No, it's not a problem, but I feel like the sometimes looking forward to things, and the excitement that brings, that's also joy, right?
How do you have more excitement when you make a last minute trip and then you say, okay, we're going to Tokyo? Isn't that the excitement that you decide at the last minute?
Um, of course, of course. I don't know if there's I don't know if it's a black and white situation. It's
Yeah, I
probably
don't
not.
I
There's so
yeah,
things to say, but I'm at this point in my life, I'm like, okay, because that's where I'm at. I
yeah.
just feel like I think that's my thing in life, right? I'm sober now almost 10 years, and that
Uh-huh.
really, I think, has been just such a slow peeling of
Mm-hmm.
um, becoming calmer and becoming more centered and
Mm-hmm.
becoming sitting in my body more and being present when people talk to me, that I'm actually here and not like
Yeah.
going like, oh, he looks a little nervous, or da, 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 like
Yeah.
I'm always everywhere. So yeah.
Okay. But it sounds like you say this with a big smile on your face. You said your daughter, if we're just talking about this trip as some representation of how you think you might do things differently, right?
Yeah.
You say it with a smile on your face. She had a great time, you said, right?
Mhm.
And so you did it in a way that felt natural to you. Um, are you saying it in the sense that like you did things in a way that were in a way that you might have done them when you weren't the person that you feel like you've become? Is that it?
No, no, because no, it's no, no. And also, it was a great trip. It's not saying as a judgment, or
Mm-hmm.
that it went wrong, or that I'm
Uh-huh.
disapproving.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. But I don't know. It's just in the pursuit of the potential.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. So so basically you think that if you had planned it out, it would have been even more exciting because you would have seen more things or like
I think it's more. I want to experience what it's like to really feel organized and on top of things.
yeah. Well, you should be careful with this. I don't because right?
What about
If
you? Like, let's where do you fall in the spectrum?
I'm talking to myself at the same time I'm talking to you, right?
Yeah,
What I'm just saying is when I think about this, I mean, of course, I think there are things about myself that I would really love to change, you know? There was things about me that I wish were a lot different, and there's
yeah,
always room for improvement. And I wake up every day and I say to myself, all right, I'm going to do it differently this time. And then, then it doesn't always go the way that I want it to go, right?
yeah,
But I also know that there are characteristics to me that are inherent and that have served me well throughout my life because I'm a few years ahead of you, right?
mhm,
And I think that, like for instance, I talk to my mom and she is always, you better be careful, you better watch out for you know what I mean? She doesn't discourage me from doing anything, but she's always trying to remind me to be careful and stuff like that.
yeah,
And I think that I know it comes from a good motherly place because this is what moms do or whatever, but um I feel like I'm the right amount of cautious. I trust my instincts and my intuition. If my intuition says don't get on the bus, I don't get on the bus, right? You
mhm,
know? And so I also know that I'm not the most organized person and I can be very spontaneous.
mhm.
And, I didn't really plan out my move to Berlin. I didn't really plan it out, and I didn't know I needed a visa to live here or anything like that. I didn't know anything. And
Yeah,
I mean, all I did was buy the plane ticket, and I said I'm going. I packed 2 bags. I left all my stuff there.
yeah,
But I trusted myself to know that I'm capable of whatever the problem is. I'm going to solve it, and I know enough people that I can count on that can, advise me well or connect me with the right person or help me find the right information.
yeah,
And so because of them, they allow me to be the person that I am.
yeah,
And so, and I don't really push it too far. I don't get myself into trouble or anything like into too much trouble. But I think if I was more organized and cautious, I might start overthinking things. Maybe I shouldn't go here. Like maybe this would be the easier way to do it, or like you know, sometimes the world, I mean, first of all, the world is just made up of different kinds of people.
yeah, yeah,
Some people do the organizing, you know what I mean? And some people don't do the organizing. And if you're like a creative person, that's what you do. You're the creative person.
yeah. No, I mean, I thank you because I needed to hear this. Um, but I feel you're saying caution and organizedness in the same thing, right?
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I mean, that's to overthink. Yeah, that's, I mean, it's different people,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah,
I mean,
and
it just, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, 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 go.
Ladies first, of course, always.
No, but I mean the spontaneity and the the creativity and the
Mhm.
impulsiveness, and maybe that's at the root of it because I've been always very impulsive, and it's brought me really great things. Um, I feel that maybe that's an old voice in my head, that that's what I grew up with, and my mom is very different, and um, I've been around people who are very different and who would tell me different. So it's actually good to hear this from you, in acceptance that maybe this is how we are.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you aren't, I mean, I would hope by now you're wise enough to know when, where the spontaneity should, there's a line that you say, okay, like I can't just go and do that. You know what I'm saying?
Of course, I think motherhood really, really centered me
Yeah,
like that.
right. So I think that like personally, I think that um maybe if you want to tweak it somehow, then tweak it. And but if you change the, like, maybe like a core part of your being, it might cause you to suffer somehow.
But don't you have that where you wonder how what it would be like? Not just with this, but in general. Like that's I feel that that's such a thing for me to just have a reference of what things feel like.
But
Good, the
what
good,
what do you
the bad.
what do you think would happen? What do you think would be different?
No, I mean, I'll tell you when I get out the other way. The other side, I'll be like, Hollis,
Well, what this is
don't
what
come
I'm
this
trying.
way. Don't do it. It's boring. Yeah,
Well, nah, I don't. I mean, the thing is if you had like some sort of outcome that you were looking to achieve, then maybe I could see this. Like if you say, okay, I want to be more structured so that I can do this with my business or something and grow it to this level, and it requires me to go to bed at this time and get up early, devote this amount of time, don't let myself be distracted because you're trying to achieve something specific.
yeah,
But I
yeah. But I feel I live very structured already. Like I have
Mhm,
such a regimen, and I go to bed early. I'm up
mhm,
early. I'm pretty disciplined. I don't drink. I don't really,
mhm,
you know,
mhm.
I've become very like a simple life. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, so then I'm at a loss because I don't know.
yeah. Like
It
what's
may,
the conversation about? It's like
no, no, no. It's not. I mean, I understand the conversation. Like, obviously, we are here to question things, but I'm trying to figure out. Do you? Of course, you can look back at your life and say, "Oh, if I had done this differently, this might have been this going this way." But I mean, I would suggest not, like just accepting that, yeah, that is possibly true, but as you can't go back and change anything about the past, it's all about what's happening in the future.
yeah,
And then I think, okay, so if you're trying to make something specific happen in the future, then I can understand this. But if I were to suspect, if I suspect what I think would be happening is, there's some, when you start comparing yourself to someone else, or you think that, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm just, don't listen to me. I'm just some dude from Philly just talking, right? So if you think that like being some way would appeal to different people, or if you, but still this becomes a goal also. This is like, if I want to be around these kind of people or garner the respect of these kind of people, I need to be like this. Or you see someone else and you're like, yeah, they have this kind of life that I think I would like to have, and it's related to them being so organized, and then I want that, so I'm going to try to do what that person did. If it was something like this, I kind of understand it. But if it's like a vague imagining, I guess it wouldn't hurt to try it
I
either.
actually,
So,
I'm totally listening to what you're saying. That's, that's, that's it. You're right. I don't think it's out of comparison. I think it's,
mhm,
the question is it because I carry this because it's been programmed into me,
mhm,
and that, but acceptance is a big thing. Yeah, maybe that's also
mhm.
just the acceptance and the surrender.
Yeah. Because I mean, I can tell you that, like, you know, I recognize some weaknesses in my way of being and stuff like that. And I recognize the people throughout my life that have been a good compliment to me. And basically, all I really needed to do was to not inhibit people that would be a benefit to my life from being a benefit to my life by like counteracting things that they might add to it with some bad behavior, some.
Yeah,
And so for me, this is all it really needs to be. You know what I'm saying? If someone is, when I started this record label back in the day with my friends, they were the organized ones. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And I let them be organized, you know what I mean? And I stayed out the way, you know what I mean? I did what I could do.
yeah,
I brought what I could bring to the table. And I brought the dreaminess and the we can do it and the pep talks. This is my strong point.
yeah,
So, but I'm not organized. So I play my position. I don't have to be in their mix. They didn't really get into my mix, and everything worked well.
yep. That makes total sense.
Yeah. And if you, and the reason why I mentioned that you might suffer if you try to change something that's not inherent to you, because if you fall short somehow, then you might really start second guessing yourself. If you keep trying to do something that's not inherently you, it might make you, I don't know, disappointed in yourself or something, or like introduce some.
Yeah, but I think generally writing these things down and then,
Mhm.
putting time frames on it, on, because that's more what I'm
Oh.
it actually, for the amount of times I've done it, it really pays off. Like once I
Mm-hmm.
put it on paper and sort of somewhat structure it, organize
Mm-hmm.
my thoughts, then things really get done. um
Okay.
so
Oh,
that's
so.
that's I that's the beauty of it. That's why I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, I should probably really do this more
Okay,
anyway.
so
But
that's in a practical way. Okay.
yeah, it's more like a practical, a practical, and also what you're saying, I think is beautiful, and yeah, that is beautiful. Like I feel I've at times I've been so isolated where I feel I've got to do everything myself and
Mm-hmm.
have to be
Mm-hmm.
capable of doing everything myself. And um, I think that's part of also why, because I have been looking into, like living together with a bunch of women, just for that reason. So there's
Mm-hmm.
a sense of community and there's a sense of support. I've been raising the kids by myself, and
Mm-hmm.
also in LA is a town in which people just pass through.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of people should. I mean, of course, there's people that are born and raised Angelinos, but um, it's not a town with like really a city with
Mm-hmm.
deep roots where people really stay. So whatever I had in friends that are like family friends and that are these grounding influences,
Mm-hmm.
people then move back to wherever they're from, or they continue onward somewhere else. And I feel like after 15 years I'm at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you say support,
Yeah.
Cause see, this is where I was take my thought on this. My interpretation was that it was like a little bit more leaning towards the existential, right? Like
Mm.
I'm not even sure if I'm using this word the right way, but like the
Yeah.
like ethereal wants to come out my mouth as well. The so in okay, so like with support, what do you mean by support?
What do I mean by support? Just physical, like just being like the presence of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm also a person that needs a lot of space, I really enjoy just having people around and having people over and having a social life,
Mm-hmm.
and community.
Mm-hmm.
And where people help each other out, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I had my tire here went flat, and I was already like looking at YouTube to how to change it and stuff. And then
Mm-hmm.
my mom's like, no, 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 go to the neighbors. And then just the fact that you ring a doorbell, people you don't know, and then they're like, of
Mm-hmm.
course we'll come and help you. And the guy
Mm-hmm.
was, I was like, wait, do I pay him? Do I? And like these small we're so far from that, I feel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but what made you want to move to Berlin? Like that's.
Well, what's that? A subject change? What's that? A
No,
subject change?
I just was like, because I just am interested in hearing that. Like, what motivated you to make that choice?
Mm, well, I would say that this the simple answer is like a few things happened all at the same time that signaled to me that it was time to go.
Where?
Um, I
Where?
was in Montreal before.
Okay, yeah,
I was living in Montreal, and I had been there for 10 or 11 years, and so I had this apartment that I really loved, and my apartment got reclaimed.
yeah.
My so I was going to have to leave. The owner wanted to move one of their family members into the to that apartment, which is coincidentally the only way that you can compel someone to leave an apartment. Um, and then the woman I was seeing at the time, our relationship came to an end, and my visa. I was always getting these temporary visas for all these years, and maybe the year before, the immigration office, they said, okay, we know we said this quite a few times, but we're telling you for sure, next we're going to give you one last visa, but you need to apply for permanent residence. Clearly you've been here long enough, you want to be here. So if you come back next year and apply for a temporary visa, you're going to get denied. So don't think we're joking. Don't think it's, they made it really, really clear to me.
Mm.
And of course, I farted around and didn't take it as serious as I should. And I procrastinated. And then when it got too close to when my visa was expiring, I couldn't remember for sure, but it was like either I was not going to be able to leave during the process of applying for a permanent residence, or I was going to have to leave while I tried to apply for permanent residence. So neither of these options seemed to be the way that I wanted to go. And then I lost the apartment. The girl and I broke up, and I was like, all right, it's time to get out of here.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really know for sure where I wanted to go. But I had been to Berlin a few times, and I really liked it. And I was like, oh, I'll just go to Berlin and figure it out. I only took 2 suitcases. I had a whole apartment full of stuff, you know, like I had everything, furniture and all this. I took two suitcases. I happened to go on a little Tinder date or something, and I was telling the person that I was leaving, not person, it was a woman. I was telling the woman that yeah, this is where I was going, and she's like, "Oh, did you get your visa already?" And I was like, "Visa? What are you talking about?
What do you mean? It's like this.
What do you mean?" And so, um,
Yeah.
this is how little preparation that went into it. But all I did was just arrange for my friends to take care of my stuff and everything. And I came here. I had made a few friends on my trips here, and I had done business with some record labels here and everything. So, you know, I had a little bit of a network here, but nothing was like super secure. But I figured I could make it work. So
Yeah.
I did it, you know?
Yeah.
And I've always taken she's a lot older now, but I've always lived with the understanding that my mother would never see me homeless or hungry. So no matter what, if everything goes wrong, I can just go home.
Yeah.
Like home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so with this, I've always felt courageous, and I take chances. I've taken chances like that. So, um, you know, I have been like extremely poor at times and everything, but I found a way. I would always find a way to make it work, you know?
Yeah.
And so this is how I did it. Uh, yeah, I try not to think about it too much, and then you know, and I'm actually not a person that likes so much change, you
Mm.
know. Um, and you know, so now I think I'm settled here. I think it was a good decision. I have no complaints.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. Where are you thinking of going?
I'm not sure. I literally, part of me also wants to just not live anywhere for like a
Mm,
year. Maybe
mm,
homeschool my daughter and then just go everywhere for a little bit. I don't know how responsible. I mean, there's obviously like, but I feel I'm giving her also a gift of seeing all these different cultures, and yeah, I don't know
okay.
at this point.
Okay. Okay. And I, you know, to me, I think it sounds exciting in the sense that you sound like you have a nice little adventure ahead of you. So
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, that part is cool. That part
Yeah.
sounds cool.
Yeah.
Um, the question, but now I have to come back to where's this organization and stuff you were just talking about?
Well, that's probably, it ties in with this desire I have, that I think like, probably why I brought it up is that,
Mm-hmm,
it's like, do I what is sensible, what is responsible, like those are things. And especially as, because I'm a single parent, I
mm-hmm,
feel that that's always weighed on me, right? Because I don't really have a sounding board to go, okay, does this make sense? So I just discuss it often with the kids, and then
mm-hmm.
that's how we come to conclusions, and
Okay,
we take action accordingly.
okay.
I just also
Um,
wanna like, yeah, just expand like that. Have have the freedom, um, and through life, I know so many people in so many places, and it's with teaching yoga, or it's, I don't know. I just want to experience that. I think to be really.
Okay, so you see that it is feasible. Obviously, it's feasible. It's not like you're going to get out someplace and get stuck and then.
No,
Okay,
I'll let you know. I'll keep you updated.
you're right. You're
Very
right.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, this is how I feel. I feel like I know enough people around the world that I feel okay to moving certain places and doing certain things, and you know keeping a couple phone numbers with me that that I can say, okay, I'm here, like
yeah.
so I think if you have that, I guess you'll be okay.
Well, good. Thanks
Yeah,
for
yeah,
saying that.
yeah.
Yeah,
you know
yeah. So that's
um
that's tying back to your questions. Like, that's the most pressing at the moment. But
right, right.
yeah. What
Okay,
about
okay.
what about you? What do you have going on
uh,
at the moment where you think, okay,
well, I had this interesting. We did an exercise in my German course. I'm learning German finally, and one of the things we had to structure these sentences around things that we can do,
mm,
right? So she asked me the question. I'm not even going to try to speak any German to you right now, but she was asking me what I could do, and I was like running down this list of things that I can do, and then she's like, "Okay, so what can't you do? What is it that you can't do?" And I was like, the whole class is looking at me. Everybody's talking that has gone through it already. She gets to me. She asked me this question about what you can't do. And I literally could not come up with one thing that I couldn't do.
mm,
Right.
yeah,
And so she finally went on to someone else, and then someone else mentioned that they couldn't swim, and then I realized, like, oh, I can't swim either, right?
yeah,
So I was like, how come I couldn't think of this to say, right? And I realized that this actually bugged me for like a few days, like maybe even over a week. I was like, how come you couldn't think of anything that you couldn't do, And I realized that it's a part of my indoctrination. I've been positively indoctrinated by my mother, right?
yeah,
And I don't think in terms of can't do. I think
yeah,
in terms of I don't know how to do it, you know?
yeah, yeah,
And so there's always, I don't feel like there's much of anything that I can't do. It's just, it only depends on my willingness and my fortitude to stick with it until I can do it.
yeah.
And so this was really interesting, and then I went back to the teacher and I tried to explain it to her, wondering if there's a different word for can that would apply, like, and maybe this is not, if there's a how like sometimes there's multiple words that mean the same thing. It's just like very subtle differences.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, she didn't understand where I was going with it. It was like too. It was like a philosophical question, and she was going grammatically. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I still haven't found this answer to this question. Of like if there's another word that I could use. So,
For
but it
not,
was, huh?
and not another word for not being able to, or
Um, yeah, I guess that's what it's because I do think that is very different. Being unable, I don't know, temporarily unable is different from I cannot.
yeah, Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know, and I think I have been walking around my whole life thinking in this term, like I am currently unable to, and who
Yeah.
knows what the future holds, right?
Yeah, more in a practical sense, in a here
Yeah,
and now sense. Yeah.
yeah. So it's like if I wanted to be able to do something, it's just a matter of figuring it out.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I'm very thankful to my mother for this. Actually,
Yep.
she she gave me so many gems, and if I go back and talk to her about it, she's like, dude, I didn't tell you anything like that. I don't know where you got this from. She says this all the
Really?
time.
I love
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah, because she is not that person, but somehow I I feel like she just implanted some seeds in me that really shaped the way that I thought, even if she didn't believe it herself.
Well, maybe it's also in a practical sense that she didn't tell you those exact words, but that she
Hmm.
showed you, so that she's like, okay, let's try it, let's figure it
Hmm.
out. So
Yeah,
she would, do it in that way, because,
yeah,
but maybe not like in the quote way where it's like you can do anything and
yeah,
everything is figure outable,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's, but that's, I feel so much of what we do now is in just in speech. But if your
Hmm.
mom has, installed that in you, it's, that's the most powerful lesson, I think, as a parent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Beyond limitations.
yeah. I feel, but I do feel like she's actually said the words to me. Like,
Really.
maybe she's, I feel like she said it in like very subtle ways. And I mean, I think when she was saying these things, I was like a little kid,
Yeah.
and she didn't tell me this like when I was a teenager. I feel like by the time I was a teenager, this was fully embedded into my thinking.
In your DNA. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And so it's really, really interesting, and even when I think about it now, beyond the swimming, I'm still trying to figure out other things that I can't do. Like
The
you
blind
know,
spots. Yeah. No, but
like
I
how,
I love it also that you've surpassed the practical and like the practical things like swimming, but you just go,
Mhm.
okay, everything is, I can give it a go, and I can try
Yeah,
and I can master
yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. And actually, I I might even say that I was offended at the question. Like, who are you talking to, lady? Like,
Question is that? Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. So I don't know. This is so. This was like the big thought in my mind. Like I didn't. I I don't know. Do you think did you have any bits of wisdom that you uh had impressed upon you, or that you try to impress upon your children? Or is it all through actions, or what you saw?
Um. Actually, I've never really. I don't think. I think my parents were very are very um always in their minds. So it's all
Mm-hmm.
that, I think that's I- what did I get? I got a lot of wisdom from my grandfather. I think
Mm-hmm.
I had more that connection with him, where where he said things to me when I was so young, and I'm right there when
Mm-hmm.
I go back to it, and I have terrible memory because it's just like all one big muddled sort of, and every now and again a sentence comes out. It's like, oh my god, I've completely forgot that. Where my siblings have really clear, and my kids even have it. It's like, oh, don't you remember? And I was like, no, I don't remember. But yeah, with him, I have these things where I have just fond memories of him, of like really perceiving, and I didn't even realize when he was speaking to me what he meant. I meant it was something different than what I understood it to be at the young age. But he was a Freemason, and I think he gave me a lot of philosophical things, or like really to be really present and to really see what you see and to take it in and to register the surroundings. And he would always acknowledge me, and I think that's such an important thing, to just really feel seen, being seen by someone. So yes, I think that's a gift. So I'm conscious I do that with my kids.
And is this what you mean by support?
Yes. I actually also think, because sometimes it's like what you say. I can. It's in a similar stretch where I've grown up always analyzing so much, because that's like such a default setting from the way my parents raised me. And sometimes you don't. That's actually the things to be and to just are, and with also my children. You just listen. You don't need to change it. You just can just be present and listen and go, that sucks, or that sounds hard, or not straight away try to talk it away, or acknowledge. And that's, I think, a real sense of support, to go like, okay, yes, it is tough what you're going through, and I'm sorry you're going through that. I feel that's a whole thing in its own, people having the ability to hold that space. Yeah.
Wow, that's nice. I it's really, really interesting because I also picked up a few other traits of like I I felt supported in a very different way. I mean, I think my mom was always there for me, but not in the I don't know. I don't know if I was always acknowledged in the as you are describing it. I think that she was supportive in a much different way with like now I'm not saying she said it. I think she said it, but she's going to tell me she didn't say it, right?
Yeah.
But my premise has always been that she would say something like, "Okay, you can cry about this later. How do we solve the problem?" You know?
Yeah.
And this is kind of the approach that I took. She's like, she's like, don't spend time worrying so much about the problem. Worry about the solution.
That's
And
yeah.
yeah, and so for me, I have always taken like this different approach. I'll give you like an example of this. There was when I lived in Montreal. I had this friend, and she was telling me that she didn't know if she was hallucinating or not, but she felt like she saw people standing on her windows, like footsteps going across her windowsill in the middle of the night, right? And it happened on more than one occasion, and but it was happening when she was sleeping, so she wasn't sure if it was true, and but she believed it was actually happening. She believed that people were standing on her windowsill, and she was telling it to her friends, like people that I don't necessarily know, but like she was telling these stories, like to random of her friends, and it was really really bothering her that no one believed her, right?
Mm.
And so when she told me, I was just like, okay, do you feel unsafe or whatever? And like, do you what are you like worried about, like and so what ended up happening is we went all through her apartment, like the entrances and the exits and everything, and I looked through everything and I said, okay, we can stick this here so that the window will only open up this much so that no one could come through and everything. I'm giving her this is my way of dealing with it. And I try to help and solve the problem. Like if I don't, cause she was still a little upset with me that I didn't believe her. And I was telling her, I was like, I don't need to believe you. Like, it's like, I'm here to help you. Like, that's it. I want to help you
Right.
feel more secure. I don't need to believe, you know? And, and actually it turns out that it was true. That someone was coming across, it was like these kids were doing this like a urban parkour thing or something, so they were like crawling across the front of the buildings and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And but I she was like, didn't think that I was being sensitive enough, because I didn't. I mean, I guess she really wanted me to believe her, or at least tell her that I believed her.
Yeah.
And
The,
and I was just like, I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. Like, you know,
yeah, the sense
we.
of the validation. No, but that also ties back into what I'm actually learning now, where my truth is not something I have to convince others of. And
Mhm,
that is, I think that is something I still like work with every day, that I always,
mhm,
want to over explain or reason and I think that's no is no, and that's just my truth. But I'm so
mhm,
used to adjusting and then vacating myself for
mhm,
in a way
mhm,
that's I can relate to that, where
mhm,
the more solid and grounded uh, I become, and also the more experience I get in life, I'm like, all right,
mhm.
this is just what it's like for me. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
can relate to it. Yeah, where you want to feel acknowledged
Mhm.
and validated.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know. Like, this is where I don't think that I am this kind of like
Also,
I'm.
you're a guy. I think also I wouldn't necessarily ask my guy friends to go,
Yeah.
though I have a few that are totally capable of, but you're just you're troubleshooting. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
great on acts of services too. I mean, I
Mhm,
love that's also support to me. Somebody who said,
mhm,
"Shall I help you?" or like doing things together, like mundane things like grocery
mhm,
shopping together, or
mhm. Yeah.
I'm just, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I would tell you, like, if you tell me you want to do something, right?
Yeah,
And I'm gonna help you make it happen, right? That's what I do. I'm going to give you the pep talk.
yeah,
I'm gonna hype you up. I'm gonna try to clear obstacles out of your way. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm gonna do.
yeah.
But if you ask me to sit and listen about it, and you know, I don't know if I'm the person for that. Like
Well, you're a
I'm
good
just.
listener. I mean,
Yeah.
this requires listening
Mm.
too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, I guess if a person, yes, I guess I allow a person to be heard, like definitely.
Yeah.
But I also have like the a two conversation rule. Also, you know,
Oh,
I
after two conversations, it's our exit.
it's like listen, listen. I told you what I think. I told you what I think you should do. You know, if after this I have nothing else to offer you. You know,
That's when
that's
people
it.
turn to Chat GPT. Like you can overanalyze.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but like once again, I will be there for the practical things. Like I'm gonna troubleshoot with you. I'm gonna figure out how to make it happen. But I don't want to just like talk about things where you can have an action behind it. It actually causes me, to feel unease. You know?
It's interesting though that you have this really practical side to you, and then this very philosophical where you're asked if you can do things that you straight away go on like the bigger the non-practical and the more what's it called, the imaginary. Yeah.
I guess. I mean, yeah. I guess this is. I don't know
It's
how
there
these.
in the middle.
But whatever it is, like the thing is like the idea. I do think. I do think that um I have to look up in the dictionary someday what the definition of wisdom is, right? But
Mm,
I think for me, I think of wisdom as is like knowledge put into practice. Like you know it and then you act upon what you know.
right. Yeah.
And so I don't I think that lots of people know things and can be intelligent and smart and then still do the thing that's like not in their best interest or it doesn't help achieve the goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
You-
Or the over analyzing. Yeah. The second.
yeah,
Yeah, which causes stagnation. Yeah.
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 And so this is, I mean, I think that, I mean, and even with the knowledge, I guess I'm into like having the idea and then seeing, of course, because then it goes back to, of course I can do it, So you have the idea and then you say, okay, this is
Let's.
the idea. How do we make it happen?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that's how those two things work together.
So how do you do that when with music then? Like, is that does that sounds like that would come in really handy with making music too.
Well, see, here's the thing, right? When I would apply this to music, I would say that you come into it with this understanding that if we're talking about just creating and you don't care that no one else hears it and you're not trying to support yourself from it, you
Yeah.
don't need to be practical. You don't need anything beyond your creativity and your talent and your desire to express yourself, right?
Yeah.
But if you want to have a career in music, the reality of the situation is you have to have an understanding of everything that is not music related, you know?
Yeah.
And so this is how I would apply it. I think, okay, if I want to be an artist, like I even come to this question, what does it mean to be an artist? But an artist, some people would say like you move from aspiring artist to artist when you start earning money from it or something. I know lots of people don't like to think in those terms, but
Yeah.
um, I would say that like if I wanted to like if you make music, if I answer the question with as you asked it without the shit that I'm talking, uh, how do I apply this to music? I don't have to apply it to music because if I want to make music for myself, I don't have to think about it, and thinking about it actually makes it worse, Just
Yeah.
just make it and be, let it be what it is. Um but the practicality is necessary when other people come into play, or if you're trying to make it facilitate something specific happening in your life, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
So I don't know that when it comes to music that I even uh actually, once I started thinking about it, then all my problems started, you know?
Mm.
Because I've struggled for really, really long stretches of writer's block, and it's happened to me now twice. And the first time was like 10 years. This time it's been almost 10 years, and it is all because I start thinking about in I can't do what these guys can do.
Mhm.
Mine doesn't sound like this. I'm competing with not only competing with other people, I'm competing with my past self,
Yeah.
and th- I will say it has been a struggle to be able to tell myself, like, stop doing that. Because that's really the answer. Stop doing it.
Yeah. Just keep keep going. Yeah.
Yes. And
And
I do keep going. That's what I will say. I do keep going. But I think about the time before when it was so effortless. I didn't have to think about anything. There was no, I mean, in the sense the stakes were high because I knew I wanted to, it was my dream to be this as my profession, but I still was able to just make music. I just made music, and some songs would be bad. No one ever heard them. Some songs would be bad, and unfortunately, people did hear them. And but I would, for the most part, it was, you keep making music, and then you pick out the good ones, and then you put them together, and that's your release or something.
yeah, but there can't be good without the bad. Like
Right.
that's if you just focus on the bad. I,
Yeah.
I don't know. It sounds very familiar. Like I had a joke with my um ex who would have an album. It took him 11 years to release
Mm.
the album, and
Mm.
and the amount of edits and changes. And then I was like, he's like, can you come and listen? I was like, surely not again this song. It's like
Right. Right.
with a different bass line, or maybe
Yeah.
it's more this and that, and then so and so is doing that. And I feel like that's because it's such a vulnerable position to be in, right? And
Yeah.
it's just to take yourself out of that headspace and just let it come through. But when we get in fear, it's hard to let it flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And the good thing is that I would say, even if it did take 11 years, it finally did come out, right? So I can tell you, I have friends that have been in the same position and they've never finished what they started, like people that I would consider to be much more talented than I am.
Mm.
And then, but they keep, okay, every time they learn a new thing, they go back and apply it to the same song, and
Yeah.
I mean, I do think there's something to be said about, you know looking at what you create as a catalog of work, and that you learn something, you know this is where you were at this time, and then you learn something new, and you apply it to what you're doing now, and in the future you will apply the next thing you learn to that. And I think this is like a better way to approach it rather than trying to perfect each and every thing that you do, especially if it stops you from even finishing one thing.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's so hard because if you have like we all have it, whether it's music or creating other things, something that is so uniquely to our souls, and then once we open up to the world and there's things like record sales and I feel so much of what's now out there is sounding all so similar, and it's pretty. I would love to hear and to have that journey
Mm-hmm.
in music, and I think that's what makes a human interesting, because it's a
Mm-hmm.
personal story that we tell. And I wish it wasn't so controlled by the numbers and
Mm-hmm.
financial, what's it called, that it would be so transactional to a degree.
Um, the well, the thing is I'm going to toss it back on you, right?
Mhm.
Because I can tell you all that you see exists, right?
Mhm.
It's just a matter of knowing where to look for it.
Mhm.
I do think that we have gotten to a place with music that we have a lot of people that it's kind of like it's so easy to create by numbers.
Yeah.
And so people can see patterns and strategies and say, okay, if I make it like this, and it goes for this long, then it needs to break down here. This is where everybody is like waving their hands in the air, waiting for it to drop back in. So when I build it up to this, and then you know what I mean? You know, and we have so many tools at our disposal when creative, like there's like things that can tell you, okay, play these chords together, you know?
Mhm.
And even if you don't, you don't, I forget this term when you have like a tin ear or something, but like, let's say you don't know music theory and you don't have an ear for music where you can tell when something's out of key. There's tools that could solve this problem for you. You can say, I want to have a song and it's in A minor, and then put the samples in A minor and then generate these chords. And you know what I mean? You can do all of that. And then there's just a lot of people that know how to do this now. They have the tools. It's all pretty inexpensive. So anyone can jump in this market. But there are still people that are pouring themselves into what they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they just it's just a matter of finding them, because I think there's like tons of good music that comes out. It's just that there's no way possible for any human being to keep up with what's happening. Like sometimes you'll get lucky and find one artist and then you listen to their stuff, and that's it. But if you go by Spotify playlist or something like this, good luck. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just but it's out there. I want to tell you, it's out there. There's definitely people pouring their heart and soul into what they're doing. You
Yeah.
know?
It's
Yeah.
such it's an energy. It's just,
Hmm.
yeah, something authentic.
Yeah. And another part of the problem, which is what I was saying about like understanding that the there's the music and then there's everything that is not music that goes into it. And usually when you cannot marry these two entities or whatever. I don't know. I dropped out of university, so I don't know if that's the right word to use. But
Yeah,
like,
I understand it.
but if you can't marry these two things, then you can easily get lost. And usually the non-music side of music supersedes everything else. So you have to be somewhat versed in these things in order to make something happen, so that you can like push out uh to a place where people can discover you,
Yeah,
you know?
expand. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we are now. Like it's very hard to be it used to be back in the day, we didn't, especially in electronic music, you didn't know what people looked like. You have 10 different names that you're producing under, and
Yeah.
it was all about the song. Like, so you know
Yeah.
and that's how this is kind of how you chose your name to stick with. Okay, I'm making this kind of music, I use this name, people are feeling it, so I'm gonna keep using this name.
And
And
the gatekeeping too. I
yeah,
see it with my son now. There's
yeah,
certain things he won't put on playlists because
yeah,
he's just like, no, this is too good to put on anything. Yeah. It's
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we did do this stuff back in the day. I mean, I never did it, but I know that people used to like write over the record so you couldn't see the title, put stickers over there,
Yeah.
you know. And but yeah, it's a very, very interesting place that we've found ourselves in, because people don't realize how difficult it was back in the day. Um, so much is available to us for little to no money. You know what I mean? You can do, like, pretty much everybody has a computer now. That's all you need. You really don't need anything beyond the computer, right? If you wanted to. But back in the day, you used to have these speakers and synthesizers and sequencers and samplers, and everything was separate. You had to understand how to connect everything. Um, you had to know people at you had to hire publicists, or you had to mail things out to people, like go to the post office, and and good luck, being trying to get into a magazine or something. And this is what it's a little irritating when I think about it, because when people tell me about how hard it is, it's like, do you realize that you can go on Instagram and post about your music and potentially reach like hundreds of thousands to millions of people, and it didn't cost you anything? And then you have people complaining about, like, I don't want to do this social media thing. It's like, but at a certain point in time, you would have killed to have access to something like this, right?
Yeah.
But people take things for granted, and also they just don't it's also the case that as things have become more accessible, it's become so saturated that it's presented almost the same problem all over again,
Yeah.
which is being able to be found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you finish when you that first writer's block period,
hmm
that you how did that end?
I started working with someone else.
Ah,
I
yeah.
I'm actually very much a team player,
Yeah.
and so I feel most comfortable in a collaborative setting.
Yeah.
Um, and so I'm a like a fire starter. Like, I'm good at kicking things off,
Yeah.
and then someone else has to come in there and like,
And then run with it. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. And so this is what works best for me. And when I don't have a good person to collaborate with, or someone that I feel is like actively with me on something in some capacity, once I'm left to my own devices, then
Yeah.
I start listening to the kick drum for like 4 hours, like
Tweaking.
yeah, you know, and then to just get to that point where this whole thing sucks,
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's usually been it for me. Like I'm very good at um like my mom was always like very self-sufficient, right? And if she can't do it on her own, it just doesn't get done. You know what I mean? Like she really does not want to ask anyone for help.
Hyper independence. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm very good at asking people for help,
That's
you
so
know?
interesting. That's so interesting.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I know, but I mean, I'm also secure enough in myself to know when I need help and not feel shamed uh, that I'm asking someone for help. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but
So,
also it's a gift to give to someone else, right? To
yeah.
ask for help, you give somebody the gift of. But yeah, I'm more like your mom.
Yeah. Did you see that? Did you read this book, Choke?
No.
Uh, it's this book. I think they might have even made it into a movie, and I think it's the same author that wrote this book. The Fight Club. He wrote the book Fight Club,
Yeah.
and I think this other book was Choke. And basically, like this premise was this guy was going around and he would get around like affluent people and allow himself to like choke on food and let someone save him, and then they would feel like responsible for him after this. And so he was like conning them out of money and stuff like that after, by him allowing them to save him, um they would feel like responsible for him, and then he could like, you know
The
i,
gift
I
of
don't
life.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not doing this, but I'm saying that like I've never been this hyper.
Independent. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I'm very good with being alone, but like I don't need to be alone unnecessarily. You know what I mean? Or to struggle unnecessarily when I can just ask someone for help and you know.
Yeah. That's definitely something I have to work on. I'm just, as soon as I also get like not in a good mindset, I disconnect from everybody, and then I'll resurface again when I've got things figured out. But
Mhm.
I think that when you're in that state and somebody comes in and offers help, it really um, leaves this big impression on me. It's like even when I
Mhm.
don't ask people for help. Yeah, it's
See,
I've got to
and
learn
I'll tell.
to ask. I have
So I'm
shame,
sorry. Say
and
that
then
again.
no, that it's exactly what you say. It's like that you feel secure in yourself enough to ask for help. I feel I'm
Hmm.
always a burden.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah.
But do you recognize that you have things to offer as well, though?
Yes, I know. And I'm a big helper of others. That's
Mm-hmm.
I know it's the classical way of being. Yeah.
Yeah. This is exactly my mom. Like she won't ask for help. She helps everybody else, and then she
Yeah.
doesn't ask for help.
I
Um.
It's funny. I did this training a while back, like 2 years ago, and
Mhm.
they did this thing with, they give you an amount of sticks, and then you can it's a group exercise, and
Mhm.
basically some people help themselves to the degree that they don't look no help others to the degree that they don't look after themselves anymore, and it's
uh,
that's the thing. Yeah. The,
yeah. I mean, it's a delicate balance. But then you also just have to be practical. Like, I mean, I think the main thing is if you move with the intention of doing right by people,
mm,
and you don't forget that people helped you. I think this is the best we can do in life. I mean, I even have people that I consider having done bad things to me, and I still remember that they did something good for me, and I say, okay, because they did this good thing when I really needed them, I mean, I might not be around them, but I'm going to, like, inside myself, it mitigates
mm,
how I feel
yeah.
about them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that, yeah, this is you better be careful with this. You should. I don't want to tell you what to do, but I'm going to have you consider to be careful with this, because you well, you're not necessarily. I was going to say, if I go by my mom's example, but you're not quite like that, because you seem like you still have a sense of community. You still interact with a lot of people, even if you're not allowing them to help you.
Mm,
Uh, but in a sense, like, my mom doesn't never really expanded her circle. So once she's gotten old and older and all of her friends are passing away and everything like that, there's no in not even a slight influx of new people coming in.
yeah.
And then she also doesn't want to feel like a burden. So, you know what I mean? Like, and then she's almost at a point where she feels like to call someone is a burden to them.
Oh God.
Oh, they probably got things to do. They're busy, you know? And so just just be careful.
Yeah, the shrinking and the expanding. Yeah, that's I can relate to that. I fluctuate between the two. It's not
Mm,
just the shrinking, or
yeah,
I'm pretty conscious with it. Yeah,
yeah. But I
it's
get the
interesting.
impression lots of people are drawn to you also, right?
I I uh I have really good friends,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm feel I'm really lucky with that.
Mm-hmm.
I've invested a lot of time in friendships.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I also take pride in being a good friend. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and
Do you do Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, the quality of friendships. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what about strangers?
Oh, I'm super. I'm open to. But is there such a thing as strangers? I really wonder,
Mm-hmm.
because with me it's so intuitive that straight away when I'm not even conscious with it, but I've met some really great people that it's just be from being open,
Mm-hmm.
and just not really going by, oh, that should be dangerous, or that's weird, or I mean,
Mm-hmm.
granted that I've been in situations where I really got like, oh my God, that was, that ended well, or I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I was protected. But um I've got some, yeah, I love that. I've met people just by impulsiveness
Mm-hmm.
that are become really good friends just by being open, just by this. I don't know, you feel it, like
Mm-hmm.
if you, or if you step out the sort of regimentedness that it should happen here or there. You can meet great people at the supermarket. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really need to be through friends of, I'm easy like that, and I'm
Okay.
just interested in people. Yeah,
Interesting. Okay, so you'll be good. You'll be good.
I'll be good. What about you? Well, you said you're
um.
more a team player, and that you have good friends that you keep the phone numbers of, right?
Yeah. 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 I mean. I try to I try to be an open person. Um, I actually I try to allow people to be themselves around me as well. I
Hmm.
think I've been told enough times that I'm like a good listener. So this is pretty endearing to most people, right? Um,
Yeah.
and so between that and you know, like obviously through the music, I meet lots of people as well, and people gravitate towards me because of, you know, the music stuff. Um, and you know, I'm halfway decent looking as well. You know what I mean? So it's, I think I gotta.
Hello.
You got eyes, right? Like, come on, like you know. But it's
Yeah.
you know, and so all I have to do is just be open, you know, use my discernment, but I try to be open to people, and I try not to assume things about people. I try to see the person inside or whatever is inside of them. I try to see this first, and so for this, I think it's led to me having lots of people that you know, I don't know if I would call them all friends or whatever, but I have like decent relationships or based upon decent interactions, you know. So
Yeah, I love that.
yeah,
I love how you
yeah,
say, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's openness. I think the older I get, the more curiosity and openness I really have started valuing more and more in people. Not like
yeah,
because our thoughts tend to go in such squares, and
yeah,
people, including me, are not aware of like the comfort zone and this matrix we're in. And I really love when people are open and also spontaneous and
yeah.
just going by what is it discernment or is it just like a remembering
Mm-hmm.
when connect with people. It's like, oh yeah,
Mm.
and then just let it unfold
Yeah,
without
yeah,
fear, I feel.
yeah. I mean, I do think it also there's I do think there's some things that go on in the background that we aren't necessarily and I'm even saying like practical things going on in the background. It's just that uh you know, I think coming from Philadelphia, it's this kind of city where you really have to size up people really fast. And
Yeah,
once you develop this, you can already say, okay, this person's over here. I need to be on the other side of the room. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? That kind of
yeah,
things. And then once you can internalize, once this is internalized you and you don't have to access it so consciously, yeah, you don't necessarily need to be fearful because you if you call this like a part of your intuition, you can trust your intuition that it's already, you know, it's done the work for you, like it's solved part of the puzzle for you when you're encountering new people. So
yeah. No, it's true. That's absolutely true. But I feel I can have a really strong repulse, with people too, where I straight away
mm,
instantly I remove myself, and I
mhm,
don't even want to talk, and it's very instant.
mhm,
Um, so yeah, but I mean, when there's that sort of ease to it, and
mhm.
I really enjoy that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. When it happens, it's awesome.
Yep.
This is not an interview. There is no format. This is simply a conversation about life.